have Jennifer Spriggs here with us today. For those of you who don't know her, have you finished your second year yet?
Yes,
okay.
Just did.
Just finished her second year. And after 2 years, the company's having her do breakout sections at Championship. So that's not a bad gig. She's grown her agency in a big hurry. If there's something about her that you want to take away, it's her drive, her determination, her enthusiasm, really. That's the biggest thing. So without further ado, I will introduce to you one of the rising superstars of Farmers Insurance Group companies, Jennifer Spriggs.
So my name's Jennifer. I've been an agent 2 years now, a little bit over 2 years, and I'm really excited. And everybody, like Kevin, mistakes that for me being drunk, and I'm not. But I do have a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I love farmers. So when I talk about farmers, I don't want to hear the negative, and I don't want people to bring me the negative. And a good example is I had a car show over the weekend. My office is in Niles in Fremont, and I talk fast. So if you guys need me to slow down, just somebody yell. And I talk a lot. Sorry. But anyway, my office is in Niles, and I have a 65 Mustang convertible that I just bought. And so it was out in front of my business, right? And I do the car show. And lo and behold, an agent walks in the door, and he says, oh, something about the color on the wall and the sign. And I'm 100% smart office compliant, of course, because I'm new, right? So we didn't have an opportunity to get that old logo. But anyway, he starts talking how bad Farmers is and how bad smart selling is and that his DM is this and that. And I had a whole room of people that were my friends there. And he just kept going on and on about what his DM wanted him to do, a smart selling thing in front of him and all this, and the paint on the wall was not that. And I said, you know what, sir? I said, it was very nice meeting you, but there's the door. And he looked at me, and he was probably about your age in the back. And yeah. And he was with his wife, and and I'm 44, so I'm older, and I said, there's the door, and he said, excuse me, and I said, I'd really like you to leave. And he said, why is that? And I said, because I love farmers. Farmers has changed my life and my family's life, and I am 100% on board with farmers, and I don't know who you are, and I'd really like you to leave right now. And when he walked out the door, everybody in the room started clapping. And so if I got that feeling of his negativity, and the whole room of people got that feeling, I can't imagine what his customers feel and clients, and that we're sharing the same name of farmers, and that's kind of a disgrace. So I was going to report it, but I took his card and I shredded it, and honestly I don't even know his name. So, but I love farmers, so I am enthusiastic. And what I'm going to show you today has changed my agency and has gotten me to where I am. I do a once a month class, which I didn't do last month because I was jet setting to Championship and a couple other places, but I do a once a month class at night that I just do on my own, and we sit round table just like this. It's after hours, and Norman comes, and Norman started as a reserve agent in this group, and I just bring positiveness, and people like Norman, who are killing it right now, bring positiveness, and we sit round table and we all talk about what works. So, I invite all of you to it. I'm gonna do it. I have to look at when the close of business was this month, if it's 20th. Is that Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, so I was gonna have it Thursday, so it'll be next week, because I did that once and I closed it on the end of the month. Isn't it awesome to be a career agent and not have to worry about when the end of the month is? I don't even know that this month. That's how cool, right? That when the cutoff. So anyway, I encourage you to really pay attention and listen. And Jack Jameson, who taught a class at Championship, said if you don't go back and put this in place in the next 72 hours, you never will. And truly, if you guys go back and do one thing that I'm going to show you, and I know you've probably heard that 1,000 times before because I have, but if you walk away with one thing, it can change your agency. It can take you guys from reserve in the back to career, and it can take you, who's been doing it 40, 50 years, to a whole new opening of what life has to give. So this is how I'm making it. Again, I'm 2 years in. I've gone to Toppers now twice, Championship once, and I've already made Championship for next year. So really, without doing what I'm going to show you, I don't know that I would have made it that far. So I encourage you to pay attention and take notes. I am available through text message, email, phone calls, however you come to my office. Norman came one day and said, can I just sit in your office and just observe you guys all day long? And he sat there, and it was cool, right? And we talked a little bit, he asked some questions, but he got to see what we were doing, and now he runs his own office. So really, we feed off each other, and that's what we're here for, and I have so much more to learn, but my philosophy in life is if I learn something, I want to teach it to you, because then you're going to teach it to someone, and they're going to teach it to someone, and it's only going to make our group better. And that little man that walked into my office over the weekend with that negative attitude is going to feel so out of place with a whole group like us that he's not going to want to work for Farmers anymore. So that's why I do this. People say, you know, how come you're going out showing everybody this? And that's why. It's really to give back. I'm being successful, and I want you guys to do the same. So I don't know how many of you were at Championship. You guys. So you guys have heard this. So I'm just going to do it briefly because it really kind of brought in my agency, and it kind of made me look at what we're doing. And I'm holding my phone because I want to read a quote off of the slide that I took there. So there was this woman that they introduced, and her name is Frances Fry. Okay, she spoke on the very last day, and I had my son, my 19-year-old son works with me. He's a producer in my office, and he's killing it as well. He's fantastic. And he was there with me, and it was the night after the dinner, and we danced all night with Kevin, and I think Kevin, we closed it out on the street too, right? When I was walking with that big old sausage in my hand at 1 in the morning. Coming from different parties, we met on the street
Quite
somewhere.
awkward, I must say.
So that next morning was really, we have to listen to this, and I was going home that day, that Sunday night. So I said to my son, yes, we're going to listen to her. So she started talking, and my kids like hitting me, saying, really, we're going to stay to listen to this whole thing? And I said, yes, we are. You know, be quiet, you can go. And it turned out to be something that now we talk about all the time. And what really, and I'll just take, 2 minutes to really explain it. And what she said, she talked for a very long time, but the one really big thing that I took away from her is she said that in order to be exceptional at something, you have to give yourself the ability to be bad at something. And she said it 3 times. In order to be exceptional, you have to be bad. And you have to give yourself that ability to do that. And when you have a personality like me who's a perfectionist and everything has to be at that high bar, it's really hard to accept that I have to be bad at something, right? And I'm bad at singing, and some probably say dancing. But, but on a level of business, I want to be exceptional at everything. And really when she stood up there and she said, you have to allow yourself to be bad at something. And at that moment, I started thinking about my agency and what my agency looked like. And she said, if you strive to be exceptional in everything you do, you'll only ever hit the level of mediocrity in everything. You'll never be exceptional because you're trying to be exceptional at so many things that you'll never hit that level in something because you're doing it for everything. So when I went back and I really sat down and I started reading her book, and I really got into it and said to myself, well, what does that look like in our agency, right? Her whole speech was on really what makes the customer tick, customer service, it's all about the customer, right? And so after I sat down and I looked at it, I remembered what she had said, and I'm going to give you 2 examples, Walmart and Southwest Airlines. And these were 2 really, really good examples to bring in her you have to be really bad at something. So basically they took the top 10 things that drive these 2 companies. Both of these companies are huge, huge success stories, right? And so what drives these companies into doing that? So Walmart, the #1 thing on Walmart's list of 10 was what? What do you guys go to Walmart for? Price. That's it. That was their #1 thing. Tell me something that Walmart's really bad at. Customer service, and guess what? That was their last thing. So price was #1, customer service was number 10. We look at Southwest Airlines. What's the #1 thing you go to Southwest for versus United?
Free baggage.
Free baggage, what else? What else? Okay, so
Frequency of flights.
come on, why do you guys buy
cheap.
Southwest? Yes,
Right.
it's cheap. It's the cheapest airline out there.
It's price.
Though Virgin's giving it a good run for its money right now. But it's the price, right? What's the last thing you go to Southwest for? What's the one thing that you wish Southwest would change so that you didn't have to deal with that in order to get on that flight? Somebody said it.
Assigned seating,
Assigned seating, right? They don't, that's their number 10, assigned seating, okay? So if you think about those two, both of them are price, pretty much the customer service on Walmart and the assigned seating. So look in your agency, think about it as I'm talking. So they're striving to hit their number ones, right? That's what they want to excel in. And are they doing it? They're doing it, right? When you think somebody wants to go to the cheapest place to buy something, I go to Walmart. The best airline ticket out there, I fly to Chicago every other month, and I bounce between Virgin and Southwest, and Southwest always has the lowest fare. Always has the lowest fare. So I pick those places for that reason. Do I know if I pick Southwest, I'm not going to get a seat that I want, right? I know that, unless I buy the extra. And if I go to Walmart, which I was there last night, and I think they have my name banned in Fremont on Auto Mall, because I got in a little bit of an argument with the clerk. Because I had to stand in line 20 minutes, and then I got fed up. I went to the self-service with 50 items, and they tried telling me I couldn't check out there. I checked out there. Because I knew I could provide myself better service than they could, right? So anyway, I went there because the thing I wanted was the cheapest at Walmart. But I knew the customer service there was going to be terrible before I walked in the door. Okay, so let's take that to our own business, right? What do we want to be the best at in our business? Customer service. She wants to be the best at customer service. What do you guys all want to be the best at? Price? No.
Price.
No, I'm saying no to price.
I said no, price.
I want to be the best at sales. That's what I want. I want the most sales, right? I want the most, the best way to affect my agency is bring in the most clients I can by affecting their lives, because I know the service that I provide is second to none. I'm better than all of you in this room. And I don't say that in a way of arrogance. I say that in a way of, I know what I can bring my client is better than that Geico, than the Progressive, and I want all those people. That's what I want to be the best at, right? So in order for me to be the best at it, I'm going to have to be the worst at something. And I have to allow myself to be the worst at something, because I can't be the best at everything. So she gave an example of Walmart. If the guy who shops only at Nordstrom goes into Walmart and he wants something that he couldn't find, and he tried to find a clerk and he looked for a half hour, he couldn't find one, you're shaking your head, you know the scenario, and all of a sudden, as she said, those type of people don't complain to the store manager, they go to the CEO of the company. So he writes this nice, beautiful letter on letterhead and sends it to the CEO, and he complains about their customer service. And what she said was, if that CEO reacted to his letter and went back to Walmart and tried to appease someone like him and make that customer service higher up on the list, they're going to have to fail at what? Their price. Because now they have to hire more people to take care of it. So now their price no longer is number one, but they have to bring their price down in the list, because now they have to raise their price. So do you see, as it comes down and customer service comes up, what happens? Everything is middle. There is no up and down. So I sat there that morning going, holy cow, you know, I've been chasing my tail, right, trying to make everything spin, because I can't do it all. You can't do it all, and you can't do it all. And you're going, well, how does this tie into what I'm going to show you? This is the perfect example of what I'm going to show you. So in my own agency, I want to be the best at sales, because I know that I can make the people that I come in contact with lives better, because I can insure them properly versus some of the stuff that's out there. And what am I really bad at? I'm really bad at being organized. I'm really bad at keeping, how do I say this? Keeping my quotes in order, keeping my customer service stuff in order, keeping all this stuff in my office in order. Now, you're going to say, well, Jennifer, hire someone for that. And I do have someone for that, and she's awesome at customer service. So customer service is high on my list in my agency, but it's not high on Jennifer's list as my number one. So I know now I have to make someone in my agency number one, and their only job is to be exceptional at customer service. But how do we all get better and we bring up that number? So go home and look at your agencies after what I'm going to show you, and go home and look at what do you want to be the best at, and what can you really let go of and not worry about, or pass it to an employee in your office, and so that you can work together to make it better. And really, I'll give Kevin was there, he heard her speak. I don't know if you read her book, but it's pretty, she's a professor at Harvard right now, which I didn't know that. And so she's done a lot of different books and a lot of different studies, and just her way of thinking about business was different than mine. And it's really excelled in my office since I heard that, because really I've allowed myself to be bad and in my own mind and embrace some of this and give more of my power of letting go to some of my employees who are now using Sims in a different way. So how many of you in here use Sims? Okay, so you use a little bit, okay. And really we're gonna talk about Sims and we're gonna get into Sims, but we're not gonna spend like 2 hours going into Sims. And if Kevin decides at the end of this, usually after the end of this presentation, everybody says, well, could you come back and teach us Sims? So I can absolutely do that, but just tell Kevin and then he'll show you. So I'm gonna have, you follow along when we get there, so if you could pull up a dashboard screen of some sort, and then when we get there. So I fell into Sims and Omni probably by mistake. I was at a staffing class down at home office, and one of the agents in there, and you may know her, her name is Candace Salcedo. She's in San Jose. So she and I were in this class, and it was about, I don't know, second day in class, you know, you're exhausted, you're tired, and she said, come with me to meet the director of Sims after class, and we're gonna learn about Sims. And just as I'm thinking, you're thinking, oh, hell no. We've sat through this whole class, we're gonna go get a glass of wine afterwards, right? I don't wanna learn Sims. Anyway, I went with her, we went at 5 o'clock, we literally got off the bus, he was already in the hotel lobby, we sat down, and he looked at me and he said, because of course I had this look on my face like, really, we're gonna look at Sims. And he said, would you like to grow your agency and double the size of your agency in the next 90 days? And I said, what? And he goes, if I could show you a way to double your agency in 90 days, would you do it? Well, I told you what my number one is, right? Sales. So why wouldn't I want to do that? And he said, how many phone calls did your office make today? And I said, I don't know, 10, 20, 30. And he said, how many did they make yesterday? And I'm like, 10, 20, 30. And he's like, how many of those were sales calls? I'm like, I don't know, I hope 10. And he said, how about if I show you a way where you can make 3,000 a day? And I said, what? He said, 3,000 a day. Well, that was the opening of the door to change our agency. And so with using Sims, then all of a sudden comes Omni, right? And so Omni comes aboard. And then when Omni came aboard, and I don't even know how I stumbled on these leads, and when Omni became available to us, all of a sudden we started working these leads, and I'm closing at a 75% ratio. And so if I show you these leads, and I can tell you you can close 75% of them, and again, they had me speak at championship, right? They're looking at my numbers, they're pulling our statistics. My 19-year-old son is the one selling them. So don't tell me you can't sell them, because there's a 19-year-old kid who's killing it, selling these things. And so when the company said, what the heck is she doing? The head of Omni ended up calling me, his name is Russell Lee. And we had a big discussion about my favorites and not so favorites about Omni, which led to a further discussion and a further discussion, and ultimately I ended up writing his home. So he's now my client, which led us down this path of the rights and the wrongs of what we feel as agents that Omni is. So the company's whole scenario right now is what Omni is, right? And how does Omni affect you other than being, okay, it's those J series policies, right? Because that's what most people think of Omni when they think of it. And so when you take a look at those J series, and Russell spoke during our time at championship, and he got up there, and I'll say before that, he talked to me about a week ago, or it was 2 weeks before championship, and he said, Jennifer, what's your closing ratio on cross sales for the J policies? And I said 0%. And he said 0%, and I said 0%. I have a 75% close ratio on the leads, but I have a 0% close ratio on cross sales. And he goes, we need to fix this, right? Because they're seeing this across the whole country, 0%. You know what I'm talking about when I say J policies? No, some of you don't. Okay, so back up. So Omni means how the customer is driven to farmers other than us, right? So you see the TV commercials on TV that show the bear or the skunk or the, how do you learn, right? Professor Burke's commercials. And it says call your local farmer's agent or dial that 1-800 number. That 1-800 number is Omni. Web ads that are out there driving farmers, telling you to call a 1-800 number. That's Omni, okay? So anytime at night, during the day, somebody's at home watching TV and all of a sudden that commercial comes up and it says, oh, we can save you 30% on your auto, call a farmer's agent or call this 800 number. When that person calls that number, they're speaking to a live person on the other end of the phone. And it's not us, right? So when they talk to that person on the phone and that person will sell them either an auto or renters or home, whatever they're selling them, Farmers is amazing with this, that they're giving it back to the agent. So they sell a policy in this zip code here in Newark, and they find the closest agent right now, and this is literally how it's done right now. They find the closest agent to that person who bought the policy, and they assign it in your book. And it's called a J policy. And if you guys are not in SIMS, then I don't know how you would know it was in your book, because it's fed through SIMS, and there's a notification that comes up in SIMS to tell you that you have a J policy in your book. So when you get this J policy in your book, you get it and you call the customer to say, hey, welcome, I'm your agent, thank you for binding a policy with farmers, and then you try to cross-sell them, right? You try to sell if it's auto, you try to get their home, life, all that other stuff. You set up an SMP within SIMS to keep in contact with them, and you try to re-contact them. Well, the problem that I have in my agency is we can't ever get a hold of this person. We have an email, we have a phone number, we have a work phone number, but they won't ever take our call. Why don't they want to take our call? Because we didn't sell the policy. They don't even know who we are. And they don't want to give us the time of day to find out who we are. And that's been my biggest challenge is I could call, and I have it documented in SIMS where I've called somebody over 60 times, and this person hasn't called me back. I don't even want him in my book because he has 1530. And I want him out of my book, and I want to change his limits, but I can't until I talk to him. So my biggest complaint was, no, I'm not cross-selling because they don't talk to us. So those J policies, farmers really wants all of us to cross-sell, right? I mean, it would be in our best interest to cross-sell. They're giving you this opportunity, and so they want you to have more opportunity, which is great. And so when Russ stood up there, and we had a big discussion about this 2 days ago. It was actually Thursday when they called me to talk about my 0%. I said, didn't Russ stand up at championship and say that the average cross-sell of a J policy, looking at 21st century, looking at Progressive, looking at Geico, industry standards, is 2.5 years. 2.5 years it takes to cross-sell one of those policies. He gave that statistic. So why is farmers calling me up going, Jennifer, you don't have any cross-sells in your book. We're doing a feature video on Omni on you, and you have no cross-sells. Am I that boring that I'm putting you to sleep?
No.
So it was interesting, right? And I'm going, and I stood on my own 2 feet and said, yes, I have no cross-sells. And didn't Russell say in the meeting that it takes 2.5 years? And they're like, yeah. There's a few agents out there, Jennifer, across the country that have closed some. I'm great, tell me how, because I'm doing everything right. They're just not talking to me. Well, farmers did a great thing by me complaining enough and other agents that they've talked to enough about Omni. Farmers is now going to bring the onboarding process of those J policy clients to the agent. So if Jane Doe's on the phone and says, yes, I want to buy this policy, they're going to transfer that person to you to get the payment, to get the MOI, to meet the client. Holy cow, that opens a whole new door, right? Because now the client is forced to meet me, and now I finally got to talk to them, and they know who I am, I know who they are. They're local in our community because it's in our zip code, right? So really that's going to change the face of those J policies, and I think that a lot more agents are going to have a lot more success, and kudos to farmers for actually acknowledging the fact that that was a problem. So that's just one part of Omni, and when I talk about Omni to people, I don't even talk about those, and I know farmers wants that to be a whole part of the pie. But as an agent, I'm talking to you about what works for me and what's gonna drive your numbers. Because we can definitely do those J policies and work them, but are they bringing me the success I'm having? No. So what I'm gonna show you right now is how I'm bringing the numbers in, how you can change your numbers, and really start to work these leads in the way that we do. Now, are you able to sign in?
I need somebody sign in. 'Cause my
Norman, will
district
you
sign in
put your
doesn't
book
work.
up on the,
Yep.
computer behind you, please?
Sure.
Thank you, and I don't have a prize for you at the end.
I just needed a volunteer.
So are you concerned with the customers not being able to
Thanks,
complete the
Sure.
transaction at all at the point of sale when they're trying to, you're saying they're not gonna be able to close the transaction until they reach
The agent?
a live agent?
I'm sure Farmers is gonna come out with a way, it's gonna start in 2016, so they're probably working that out now. But they're not gonna onboard somebody to an agent that's not available,
Right.
you know what I mean?
No, I understand
So,
that.
am I
The
worried?
I'm thinking the client wants to get through the transaction, they've gone through it, now they're ready to buy, okay, hang on please, let us get a hold of an agent and have you reestablish a brand new, point
Right.
of contact and relationship with somebody you haven't started anything with, just about the time you're ready. to
Again, I
close.
think the issue with that is, one of the things that Jennifer said at Championship was that she wanted the people at Omni to continue to suck at their jobs.
Right.
And that was because they do such a horrific job trying to sell these policies, that the leads go to the agent, when they go to her, the next day she calls them and she writes them because she's doing a good job.
Right.
And I get what you're saying is during the actual, when that bad rep is selling the policy, when they say to that bad rep, yes.
Give me the whole lead, for sure, but
Right.
if somebody's
So-
saying, okay, now it's time to buy, here's
Yeah, I
my
get what
credit
you're
card.
saying, and then what if the agent isn't there, and what
It's
if,
not about what if they're not there.
right, but then they have to restart that process during the actual sale.
Sure.
And maybe they're gonna set that up from the get-go, I don't, like as soon as the customer says yes, they're gonna say, we're gonna bring your agent on with us, and this is gonna take this.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Okay.
and honestly, I'm gonna let them
Sure.
worry about that because there's so few of them, right? That so far it hasn't been a concern. But yeah, I mean, and I'll let Russ know that too. That was some feedback is
Sure,
make
sure.
sure the customer experience is good, but that's what this is all about, right? Is the customer experience and making sure that's good. So those J policies are in your Sims. If you need help finding them, you need to let your district know because and I wanna say it's gonna be September, October, and Kevin, maybe you know the dates on it. They're no longer gonna give them to you because of your territory. So I could have a guy that's in your zip code because I'm working the leads and I'm working the cross-sell part of it and you're not. So there's gonna be certain criteria that you have to follow in order to get these policies in your book. And some of you are saying, you know what, I don't care, I don't want them. And some people are like, hey, send me more and more and more. So in order to get them, you're gonna have to meet your criteria, and it's gonna be getting in Sims, it's gonna be setting up SMPs, it's gonna be contacting them and doing those things in order to get more leads. Ultimately, he said they are gonna use your AGM and your, what's it called, UQI and all that is gonna feed into how you get these leads, or not the leads, but the actual J policies. So they're gonna make it more difficult and they're gonna give them to the agents, which I think is good, right? Because we don't want a J policy going to that little guy that came in my office. I want him, right? And you guys want him. So that's one piece of Omni that they are working on and they're looking at, and to lead into what Kevin said. So in this classroom at Championship, in one of the classrooms, one of the guys in the back said, well, look at their close ratio. So their close ratio is 1%. 1%. That's terrible, right? 1%. Could you imagine if ours was 1%, we'd all be starving. So he was upset in the classroom that they were at 1%. Like, what kind of morons are we putting on that they can only close 1%? Is this good? And I'm like jumping out of my pants up here, going, no, I want that 1%. Why? Because then it allows me to sell that lead. And that's where all of this makes sense to me as an agent. And, and I said to this woman on the phone the other day when we're talking about Omni, yes, this cross-sell is big and important to the company, but this is where it's important to me. And when we look at where these leads are coming from, so there's a call center. So I've been cautioned on my language here, so I'm gonna try to use the right terminology. So there's a call center somewhere in the sky, we're gonna put it in the sky, and at that call center are human beings that are licensed individuals to sell. And they're not in their pajamas drinking coffee, as I stated they were. And I said that in a funny manner because 1%, what are they doing, right? They're playing something over here on the computer while they're trying to sell, I don't know. But anyway, so they're closing at this 1%, but they're at this call center in the sky. They're not in their pajamas. It's not 21st century. It's not, some other things. It is a call center set up just for this. So the customer calls in, ding, 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 ding. How are you? Nice to meet you. Let me gather some information. So the farmer's rep on the phone gathers their information, gives them a quote. Gives them $15.30, 5 for property damage. They give them no affinity discount. They don't even talk about that. They hear, kids in the background. The guy's got, he's an engineer and they own a house in Fremont up in the Mission Hills, and, he gives them $15.30. Then he has them drive 60,000 miles a year on their car. And then guess what? There's a teenager in the household with no good student discount, and they put her on the Porsche that they drive only once a year. You guys get what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't know what they're doing. And again, Farmers doesn't want me to say that because they do know what they're doing to a certain extent. And if you understand 21st century's concept, these are individuals who get licensed to sell in mass quantity. They have very limited time on the phone to make the sale or get off the phone. That's what they're doing. They're either making the sale or they're getting off the phone. So they're not advisors. They don't have an agency. They don't have skin in the game like we do. So really, they're getting paid hourly to answer the phone, which again, don't get upset about this. This is all good. So we want this to continue to happen. So once they call in, and I was warned too, it's not just during the night, it's during the day. While we're all in business and we could answer that wonderful phone for that 1-800 number, which is what I'm trying to work on now. I have this whole program where we as agents could answer that 1-800 number. But right now, they're gonna continue to do it that way. They could call during the day, in the morning, whenever, okay? So just know that they call 24 hours a day. And it is a call. It's not a computer, because you guys all get those, right? You get the leads where they come through on they go through a website and get them, where they've actually done their own quote. You know what I'm talking about, everybody? Okay, so these are the phone call ones. So this is different than anything that you've probably been shown. So they call in and they say, no thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor on the phone. I don't want the policy, or I'm gonna talk to my husband, I'll call you back. And they hang up. At that point, no sale was made, right? Those leads at the end of the day are then put into a big bucket. And in the big bucket go all of the day's leads across the country by zip code. And what do they do with those leads, right? They could just sit on them or do whatever, but Farmers is wonderful. Farmers decided that we should have those leads. Holy cow, like light bulbs should be going off in your head, like how do I get these? And let me call on them, right? Because why? These people, number one, called Farmers. They didn't get a phone call. They picked up the phone and made the decision to get a quote. They're ready to buy because they called to get that quote. So they're ready to buy. They're ready to buy from Farmers because they want Farmers. And they're a live human being that talked to somebody yesterday. How better could it be than that? These are the leads that I'm closing 75% of. Every single day, the first thing that we do in my agency, every single day of the week, take that any way you want it, but every single day of the week, you get 2 home and 2 auto. So you get 4 leads a day, every single day of the week. Holidays, whatever. If that isn't the first thing you do every morning when you get into your agency, you're doing something wrong. Because if I can close 75% of 4 a day, we're doing something right. And these people want to buy today. They don't want to wait 6 months. You didn't call them and bother them during their bad time. Hello, customer. I see that you called Farmers last night or yesterday. And I see that you did an auto quote with them. Well, guess what? I'm a local agent in your community, or I'm an agent in California, and I'm here to help you. And I just wanted to let you know that I looked over the quote that they provided you, and I was able to make a few adjustments. that I feel would, give you better coverage. And while we were doing this, we were able to lower the price for you. 9.9 out of 10 times, I'm delivering 3 times the coverage at a lower rate because they're putting 60,000 miles. They're putting the kid on the Porsche. They're doing things that, we just wouldn't do. We're actually asking mileage. We're asking for the affinity. We're quoting the home. I mean, they're not even putting the discounts in that they could possibly get. So when we have them on the phone at 9 o'clock in the morning, because that's when my office opens, they're like, wait, what? My son closed 2 yesterday morning, took money right away over the phone because they were ready to buy. What do you mean it's cheaper? What do you mean it's better? I want your policy. Because they've already gone through that spiel, right? And in their mind they were ready to buy and they didn't. So they're ready to buy still. What you want to do is when I show you how to get access to these leads. So if you've never done the 21st Century School, you have to take the 21st Century class, first off. And if you haven't, then work with Kevin and team to get access to that. Because in order to get these leads, you have to have done the class. It takes no time at all. You have to take a little test and, you get on and you get access to them. And when you get access to the 21st Century leads, that's where you're going to find this tab. And within this tab is where you're going to pull these leads. Now, unfortunately, you guys are maybe my 50th group I'm talking to. So why is that a downside? That's a downside because there's only so many people that call in our territory a day, right? Fremont, Newark, I don't know where you guys are from, Oakland.
Yeah,
There's only
Tracy.
there's only there's only so many calls. I'll tell you, in Tracy and Manteca right now, there's leads. So because I haven't been that way. But it's good news for all of us, and I'll tell you why. So the leads are generated 100 miles from your office. So wherever your office is listed on your dashboard, your agency, it's a 100-mile radius around, and you have to set this 100-mile radius. So if you don't, then I'll show you how. But you're going to set a 100-mile natural radius. So any calls that come in within that 100 miles are populated in your lead bucket that you can pull from. Then what Farmers has done, which this is so cool, is they've allowed you to pick 25 zip codes outside your natural radius. Now a lot of people who I talk to, I don't know why, but they go back and then they go home, they put in for those 25, 94536, 94550, 94539, and I'm like, when I see their stuff, I'm like, well, if your office is in Fremont, why do you have Fremont zip codes in these 25? And I'm like, you need to go way 100 miles. So figure out 100 miles and then go outside of there. So right now, I think during championship, I was down in San Diego, and now I'm in, what's that called? I was right outside of LA. I'm in a few of those zip codes. San Bernardino, San Fernando, and literally your market is the state of California. So what you want to do with these 25 zip codes is you want to pick outside your 100 miles a place where you would want to sell policies, right? And somebody in the group is going to go, well, why would I want to sell policies down in San Diego if my office is here in Fremont? Well, the guy that called that 1-800 number, he doesn't care who he got. If he cared, he would have looked in the phone book, right? And he would have picked a local agent. So that person that's dialing that 800 number is the same one that calls Geico and Progressive, and who really isn't looking for an agent to walk in the door. So when you're looking at the bucket of leads, I don't want you to call me up and tell me that you've spent 2 hours trying to study these leads, pick leads that are close to your office, do this and do that, because I'm going to tell you, in the time it takes you to decide what lead you're getting, myself, Norman, you, we're going to pull them. And you might have seen them, but by the time you hit that button, they're gone.
And all he wants is price anyway.
Exactly. So until you talk to them though, right? Until you talk to them. They might think they want price at the beginning because he's only shopped Progressive and Geico in the general. And then all of a sudden that engineer on the phone is going, wait a minute. What do you mean there's higher limits? What do you mean this is how you get protected? Right? So you start to form that relationship, and all of a sudden now they're a client. They're no longer an 800 number. Now, do we write some of those 800 numbers that want renters only and they're not doing anything else? Sure. Do some of them have 21st century? Some of them do. Never assume they do. But these, you know, you don't know who you're gonna get. And so the bucket of leads comes, and when you're gonna see them pull up here, they're gonna come and they're gonna list the person's name. And next to the person's name, they're gonna have their address. And next to their address, they're gonna have 5 stars. And next to the 5 stars, it's gonna say the price. And then next to the price, it's gonna say, it's gonna show the vehicles, okay? And it might say, I think it says 2 drivers, 1 driver, 3 drivers, something like that. So it's pretty general, but it's really specific. And again, take what I'm saying. If you pull yours up and there's 10 there, and you spend a half hour trying to analyze this guy, this guy, this guy, or this guy, they're gonna be all gone by the time you decide what to pick. My best advice is, and then I'll tell you what I do, is a quick scan. I don't, like yesterday there was an 82-year-old in there. I took him because that was all that was, right? I had to pick 2 and he was one of 2. So there was an 82-year-old in there. But if I don't have to pick him, I'm not gonna. I try not to pick the Lexus, the Mercedes, the Audi, right? Because we're too high priced on there. So if this person is shopping based on price, I'm gonna have a harder time putting one driver in a Lexus that I see the premium at $2,000 every 6 months. You guys know that's a tough sell, no matter. But if that's the only one in there, am I gonna let it go? Heck no, I want that lead. Because you know what? He might change cars. They might have done something wrong. I might be able to sell him a house or a life. So absolutely pick it. But if you see this list and there's 10 in there, just take a quick few seconds to pick your choice. And people ask me, what do the stars mean? Because you're gonna see 5 stars, and some are gonna be lit with 1 blue star and some are 5 blue stars. Honestly, I have no idea what the stars mean. I've never asked what they meant. I did a little analysis at the beginning, and this was in March when I first started doing these Omni leads, because we've been doing them now since probably the end of February is when they rolled out. And I'll tell you, there was over 5,000 of them in there, and now there's none, so I'll tell you, in our territory. But, you know, the stars, so what do they mean? To me, 1 star might mean that Lexus with the $2,000 premium, which meant it's not gonna sell. It might mean, you know, he's got a DUI. It also might mean he just didn't give him his email address, and so it's not a 5-star to Farmers because, you know, Farmers wants email addresses. I don't know what it is, but I've also come across where Zach, my son, quoted this guy. When we pulled him up, we pulled up the quote. He had 2 kids. We wrote 5 cars for him. They never ran any driver's license numbers. They gave him a quote without that, and oh my gosh, we were able to knock their premium in half by running the driver's license numbers. So when you looked at the premium, it was a big premium, and it was one of those ones that day that, oh God, I gotta pick this guy because he's the only one. And it turned out, like I said, he had no driver's licenses. So we ended up selling him. So you just never know. So don't get hung up on the stars, because if you get hung up on the stars, you'll be, you know, you might lose it. So my best advice is when you pull them, and this is what has to happen, you pull the lead, you call on that person right away. So again, we call at 9 in the morning. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. We leave a message if they don't answer. Okay, so leave a message, and then we quote it. You open the quote, and you're looking at the quote, and you're like, holy cow. Change it to 100, 300, or 250, 500, because it's always at 1530. So you're going to put the right coverage on. Then you're going to put a discount on, right? Because you're looking, and they don't live in an apartment, they live in a house. So, okay, we're going to take that 50-50 chance they're going to own their house. So quote it. Put the right coverages on. Absolutely put the right coverages on. And then save it. Email it to the client with a nice, pretty email saying, you know, hey, I'm a local agent. I was able to obtain your lead. I saw that you called last night, Farmers. You know, just explain who you are and how you got their information. And so when you do that, and you bring that in to your email, then they're able to open up this new quote with this new price. And a lot of times in the tagline, I'll put, thank you for doing a quote with Farmers. We saved you a lot of money from last night. Because, right, I want them to open my email. So I'll put something like that in the tagline. If we saved them a lot of money, or we cut your premium in half from the quote that you got last night with Farmers, you know, something to entice them to open it. Make it your own, make it creative, but you want them to open that quote. So when they open the quote, they're gonna pick up the phone, and I'm telling you what, if you saved them money from last night, they're gonna call you, okay? So when they call, then you have the conversation. What's the worst thing that can happen is that they never call you back, okay? They don't call, they don't email. Well, guess what? If they call Farmers back, that 1-800 number, tomorrow, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and they say to Farmers, you know, you did a quote for me a year ago, could you do another quote for me? Or, you know, they'll pull up their information. Because you downloaded that person into your book of business, you now own that person. So that lead you pulled, even though you didn't get to sell them anything, if the service center sells them a policy, it goes into your book automatically because you pulled that lead. How cool is that?
No J series?
It is a J series. It is, but it goes in your book. So, and the commission structure next year is going to change. So that's the best part about it, because right now I think we get like very little, like 1 or 2%. That's going to go jumping up because now we're onboarding and we're going to do the alerts on it. So you want that person in your book because you've reached out to them, but now you get these policies. So it's a win-win whether you get that person on the phone or not. And again, we're closing 75% of them. Okay? Are you guys interested in this?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
This is cool, right? This is people wanting to shop for insurance. This isn't you guys have to pay for anything. You have to go out of your way. This is farmers, people saying, here you go. And a lot of your colleagues are now doing it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So go into your ECMS. Oh, right, the subject line, yeah. Yeah, on the email. Yeah, I don't know. And my son puts like a joke or something, I mean, something funny that, you know, some people, and they open it. But it's always about money, you know, saving them money and who we are. So as soon as it comes up, so you're gonna click on your ECMS, and hopefully we can get in. If you can't, then we'll wing it. Yeah. Okay. So, and Norman, did you do the class?
Yes, I did.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
So-
sorry. For those of you that didn't do the class, it has been assigned to you. It's sitting in your University of Farmers under your assigned modules. That's it.
So even reserve agents can do this too, is what I heard. Yeah, yeah, to help them get going, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's in your guys' assignment.
So think about that, 4 customers a day that want to buy insurance. Holy cow, right? I mean, that's huge. To me, I'll do it
I'll take it
every day of the week, exactly. If I'm closing, right? So you want to go in your leads tab up here. Is there any way to get a glass of water or?
Oh, here.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Wait, she's got something.
Here, you can have this one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Feeling so prepared.
Okay, so you're in your leads tab, and this is what you need to see. See this lead selection button in orange? If you haven't taken the class, you will not have that button. So don't freak if you go in and you don't have the button. That means you just didn't take the class yet. So right here, you're going to see here on Norman's book, and Norman took my class a while ago on this, or we talked at night about it, I think, yeah. So allocated count means how many he's allowed to have per day. So current Q&T, he's allowed to have 3, 24-hour Q&T 6, call center auto quotes not bound 2, cross-sell 2, reassignment of cross-sell 5, call center home and umbrella 2. So some people call me up and go, well, I can't get all these, you know, how did you have all these? So, and I'll explain that in a second. So if you click on your lead selection button, and so this is what you're going to see. And up until now, until they rolled out this call center, you guys all saw this, or some of you have seen this before. And excuse me, what this means is quotes not taken. So current Q&T is what this is, quotes not taken. So these are, and really without getting into it, and I'm on my list, I'm a doer, and I'm not into the fine print at all, ever. So if you guys want to find out what the fine print is on these, then go for it, but that doesn't interest me. All I know is their leads. Q&T meant it came out of 21st Century. Somehow they pulled a list. They might have given them a quote, and they didn't take it. I don't know where they came from, but it was through 21st is what they called it. So he's allowed to have 0 leads are available today. You can import 3 leads. And what's gonna happen is they're gonna populate here. So if there were leads here, he can have 3 of them, okay? If you go here to 24-hour Q&T, or,
Jennifer?
yes,
So, like on quotes, if there's some in the morning and then you didn't pick them, they're gone for the day, or do they periodically keep showing up?
they'll
throughout the
filter
day?
in all day long, yeah, so you can check it multiple times
It's
a day.
real time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the call center ones, we did find that they're coming in, through the day. But, the zip codes, she said they only change once a week, so I'll show you guys that too. But, so here is 24-hour Q&T. What's the difference? I have no idea. All I know is we call them their leads, right? And he's allowed to have 6 of those. So there's none here. So if there were, he would pick 6. And I'm gonna show you how to pick one. We'll find something with, so we're gonna go to cross sell. So make sure you guys check each one of these tabs. So here you guys are gonna see a lead for the cross sell. So you can see here, the lead was available to, yesterday. It came in cross sell outbound, no idea what that means. They don't have 21st century necessarily, so don't ever assume they do. Ask, but don't ever assume. Here's their name, here's their age, their city, their zip code, approximately how many miles they are from your office, okay? And what do I focus on when I look at this, because this is all the information this one gives you, is I go by age, yeah. And, this is auto they're talking about. If you want to get this guy a home, are you guys going to pick, the hills of Oakland? No. So if you see a zip code on here that's in Lake Tahoe, you might not want it, right? Because of the territory. So, but you could write their auto there. And if it's the only one, then we're going to pick it. So let's go here and pick this guy in Petaluma. And if you click on this button here, now he's allowed to have 2. So Norman, we're going to pick 2 for you today.
Okay.
And we're going to go in Stockton. And we're going to pick this next one.
Sorry, which one?
No, just the one under, it's fine. Okay, so he's allowed 2, we're gonna pick 2. So this is, again, when we get to the hot button one, you're not gonna take the time that I'm taking right now, okay? We're gonna pick those 2, and we're gonna go up to the top and click import. Now, I will tell you that there's a glitch in Farmer's system here. Go ahead and import them. There's a glitch in their system, and what happens is sometimes there's like 3 here, and you keep trying to pull the 3, and it keeps saying 0 were imported. Sometimes the lead gets stuck and there's a problem with it, and it'll sit there for like 2 months, and you'll try to pull it. You'll just get to know it and go, oh, that's that guy, and you won't be able to. So don't get frustrated. It's not you. It's just a glitch in their system. So you see here, you have selected 2 leads, and 2 leads were successfully submitted. That's what you want to see. If it says you've selected 2 leads, 0 leads were submitted, then what do I want to do? I want to go pick 2 different ones, okay? Because one of those might have been a glitch. If it says you picked 2, but it only imported 1, then go find another one. So these 2 numbers you want to match for the day, okay, ultimately. Are these the hot leads? No, but they are leads. And we do sell them, we just don't sell them at the rate of. Reassignment of cross-sell. So this means that, what's your name?
Dan.
Dan. Dan in your Malin. So Dan pulled him last week. Dan did nothing with the guy. And so farmers went in Dan's book and said, we're taking them back from you because we don't want you to have them anymore. And then now they're available for you. Okay, so these are leads that other agents might have tried, which is a benefit to us. Why? Because they say a customer takes 7 times to be contacted before they're going to talk to us. So, if you contacted them 5 times and now you would pull the lead, guess what? They might bite at this time. So reassignment, he can pull 5 leads a day. So let's say I gotta go, I don't have time to look at all these leads. Well, guess what? All he has to do is go up there and pull quick pick. So if you click on the quick pick, and it picks 5 for him, okay? And then quick pick has pre-selected 5 nearest to you, press import. So, see how it says 1, what's done? So that means out of there, so these top ones that they pick for him, for some reason there's a problem with them, and you just can't keep picking them. So what you would want to do is just scroll down the list, and then at that point you don't want to quick pick anymore because they're going to keep quick picking those same 5 at the, so then you pick different ones, and then you're just going to click import, import, import. And it might take a minute. My process is always, when you come in, do this next step first, and then go back and do these, because these are not hot leads, okay? So if you go back up to the top, and we're not going to work on those. So this is the button here, this call center button.
So the Q and T are the hot leads then, as you put it?
No, this is the hot one right here.
Call center ones.
This
Okay.
call center is the hot one. So this is the one when you get in the morning, or you go home, or at lunchtime, whoever works in your office, you want to go in here at least 3 times a day to look for these leads, okay? And I say they're available new, you get a count of 2 and 2 every day of the week. Take that any way you want to. I think I've said that
When you
3.
say 3 times a day?
3.
You're like looking,
I mean, you could look 5 times a day if you want, or you can look once a day, but make sure someone's checking them, because they do filter in throughout the day. So if they're not there in the morning, they could be there in the afternoon, okay?
Jennifer?
Uh-huh.
How, and you may have already answered this, maybe I missed it, but do you know how the day, the 24-hour clock runs?
Mm-mm.
So I'm wondering,
Right.
what's a day? Is up till noon, is that midnight to noon, is that a day? And then noon to midnight is
You know,
another
that's a
day?
good question, and what I'll do is I'll email Russ to find out, and then I'll get it to you, and then you can get it to everybody.
Okay.
So I know when 21st Century Leads first started rolling out, they said to always check it at 2 in the afternoon. There's a tag at the top, and I'll show you here. New cross-sell leads in California will be posted for selection weekly on Mondays at or after 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Those are those leads, right? New cross-sell tab leads in California. So those are those leads. The call center leads populate daily.
Now, when you say you could take 4, I mean.
2
let's
and
say
2.
Okay.
So right now, we're gonna be in auto Q&B. Quotes not bound. That's what you want. Not quotes not taken, quotes not bound. Because they tried to bind coverage last night. So that's how you'll remember it, right? Bind with the B. And he's allowed to import 2 leads per day. Okay? So there are none. Does that surprise me? No, because he's in the East Bay with me and I didn't get any this morning and I'd be upset if he did, right? Why is he? I usually have everybody in the room sign in and look at their leads, and somebody like you goes, I have leads! And I'm like, what's your zip code? Right? And I write it down because I'm coming to your zip code. Right? Because we all want the leads. And to me, if I'm showing you this, you got to give back and tell me. I've asked farmers, since I promote this, if they'll give me the zip codes that the leads most come into, and they will not. So I don't get any special treatment. If you go into home umbrella, quotes not bound, so there's none there either. So you can import 2. And so it's either going to be a home or an umbrella. Obviously for the umbrella it had to have the auto, so they're going to show you in there, okay? So he doesn't have any. Are you sad and depressed? Don't be. Don't be. And I'll show you why. And I'm hoping that Norman, so here is what tells me, and this is where you guys want to look. It says, agent natural radius and zip code preference includes radius of 80 miles. Well, he left money on the table, didn't he? Because what did I say? It was 100 miles. So what you want to do is you want to go in edit preference,
Now, why did it say last updated March 21st?
because that's the last time when he took my class that he went back and he updated it. And he never did it
Like the
again.
preferences or last?
The
Last time
preferences. The preferences.
Oh, okay.
So here's where you want to go. And you want to put in 99.99, because that's 100 miles, right, away from your office. And then he didn't pick 25 zip codes. If he puts in Manteca or Tracy right now, there's leads in that zip code.
Frank's gonna come out.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Today's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Norman changes it and he puts that in today. Thursday at midnight is when it cycles. So Friday morning he will have pulled leads from those territories. Can I tell you what other territories there's leads in right now? I can't, because I don't know. I know just because I showed this a week ago to somebody and they had a whole big bucket full. So, you know, I know Tracy and Manteca have them right now, but put in 25. Go anywhere in the state. Somebody said to me, I'm going to pick the most remote town that I could find in the woods out there to write their auto. Great, but are people calling in? Do they get TV out there? Do they see commercials out there? I don't know. You know, or you're gonna go to the most populated zip code in LA where there's a lot of population, right? So you have a better chance. I don't know, and if I knew the magic number, I would tell you.
And these are zip codes that we want to enter that are outside our area. outside
Correct,
the 100.
right, so go 100 miles, so if you think Capitola is, you know, 100 miles, just look. Fremont to Capitola, oh, it's 80 miles, well, guess what? Don't put Capitola in there. Really go far. Is somebody down in San Diego gonna call you and say you took my lead? No, no. So put in what you want. They do give you excluded zip codes, and their thought process for this was to exclude the zip code like fire territory and stuff. But for auto, you don't care. Don't exclude anything. Leave those, you know, you don't care who, if in Tahoe you're gonna write their auto and leave their home.
So you said we get 25 extra additional zip codes, correct? And additional zip codes, I see 4, 8, 12.
Oh, there isn't 25?
No,
There
there's 12,
is.
because then there's excluded zip codes. I mean, there's 24 spaces.
I got you.
obviously
Okay,
up
so
there, but-
yeah, you can only have those. I don't have any more
12.
than that. Yeah, 12,
Okay.
sorry.
All right.
I misspoke. You're right. Okay, so there's 12. So put them in, fill them in, and you're leaving money on the table if you don't. I mean, if you're gonna go through this process, let's go through the process, right? So that's where you're gonna find them. So what you wanna do is apply them down here. So his radius will populate immediately, and then go back up to the leads, the lead selection,
Oh.
yeah.
I mean, you were
think-
saying it doesn't always take in effect right away, right? You're saying like till next
The
Thursday.
99 will, I don't know,
Oh, we're on
Hit-
the lead selection.
okay, then hit cancel maybe. It'll get us out there, because you already,
How do I get out of here?
there you go, yeah, just, oh,
I'll get
yeah,
out
you,
of it.
thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if she refreshed the screen, it's gonna say 99.99, so it will change it, it will show you those zip codes, yeah, see, so it changed it for him, so tomorrow, then it's gonna pull within 100 miles of his office, so he might see them. But this is where you're gonna find them, these are the ones who people have called in from yesterday, and they want a quote. Now, if some of you live in a zip code or happen to find the golden bucket, right, somewhere out there, and you find it, and there's leads in there from a year ago, because they actually started this Omni stuff last year, but nobody knew about it. So if you happen to pick one of those zip codes, and you know, and you happen to share with somebody like me, and no one's ever done that, by the way, except a guy in Texas. So you find these, and it says that they were, the date that was on there, lead available date was in 2014, December of 2014. Who cares? Call them. They call farmers, right? When do they shop? Every 6 months. So set your X date in your Sims, and then start talking to these people. So if the only thing available is stuff from a year ago, pull it. We sold those. In March, that's what we sold to start off this program, was the old leads. And as I taught this and showed people, I promise you in a week, if you go in here at least once a day, in a week's time, you are gonna have at least 5. At least 5 for the week. It's just, if you happen to be the one that gets up at 7 in the morning and you're at home drinking coffee and pulling the leads, that's great. If you know, you don't come in until 11 and you don't check them until 1:30 and everyone else has done it, then you may never get them. But if you're diligent in checking, you're gonna find them.
So that's 5 a week, 20 a month. Say you don't close 75, say you close half. That's 10 policies you would otherwise have had.
Right, and let me say this. So we're closing, right, we can pull what, 28 a week? You can pull 28 leads from this tab, if they're available, right? Zach, who's 19, is now selling about 25 policies a month, is what Zach sells off of this only. People call me up to find out what marketing program we're using, what this, am I in all the high schools? I support Washington High School like I can't tell you what I do over there. I'm there all the time and I funnel all my money through there. I don't buy leads. I don't buy leads. I never bought a lead, ever. And I'm telling you, I use this. This is what is giving us the numbers. And this is the golden ticket, is just working it. And Norman and I were saying, people ask me all the time, what's the secret to your success? It's hard work and consistency. And pulling these every day is gonna give them to you. And don't get frustrated if for the first few days you don't have anything. Be diligent about it. And let me say it again, you can pull leads 7 days a week.
So, take
Hint,
that
hint, hint.
10 minutes on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, go pull them.
And I will tell you, on Saturday and Sunday mornings, if I could access, I could pull sometimes 30 are available for me to look at. And on holidays, I mean, it's crazy because nobody works. I feel like I'm the only sole survivor out there when I see these leads come in. So, you know, and I call them and I try and sell them on the weekend. Go ahead.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of you, but when you click import, what do they got?
Yeah.
Exactly, so I was gonna show you that next. So everybody got this, and if you need help, like I said, if you find one, and if you see one right there, there's one, and you're like, oh my God, I got one. Hurry up, check it and import it, or quick pick it, import. Because by the time it takes you to really get into it, it's gone. That's how I've taught these, and that's how these people are grabbing them, because they're finding this success. So know that that's there. I formed, it's an Omni group with our home office, and I picked 5 other agents around the country. And so what we've developed is a team to try to get better at this and how we can get you more leads and us more access. And as I said, one of my big things is I would love to be able for us to answer that phone, right? And it never hit that call center. But agents who do this diligently and work Sims and work through this get the ability to get those leads first and do it on merit versus that. So that's one of the things that Farmers is looking at. They're wonderful. They share this stuff with us, and it's free. So we'll get out of here, and now you asked, where do you go next? How do you find them once you pull them? Okay, so they're gonna populate here eventually in this column here that says my leads. And then if you know the old way to get into all this, you can pull these lead management activity for the last 30 days. You don't click on any of them. You can go in there and look at reports and all that, but remember, I'm not a girl that looks at details and reports. I wanna sell, right? Just show me the way to get to the sale and I'm there.
And don't overanalyze any of this.
Yes.
Don't be a friggin' engineer, please.
That's the biggest thing I can tell you to take away from this. You know, unless you guys are customer service reps, and I mean, my customers have the best service money can buy them. Honestly, hands down. I answer my cell phone 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Every single client has access to me. I give the best customer service. So what I say to you is I'm all about the sale. You have to have the customer service to back up the sale, otherwise you have no business, right? So don't get me wrong when I say I'm all about the sale. But I'm not a girl who's gonna spend 3 hours analyzing, like Kevin said, where did it come from? What report is it in? How do I do this? Call them. That's it, call them. I'm gonna show you where to find them. So you're gonna leave this. You pulled them, now you're gonna leave this zone. And you're gonna go out of here and you're gonna go into Sims. And how many of you have never opened Sims ever in your life? Okay, and which is fine. Nobody's gonna drop their mouth at you. Nobody's gonna, no, trust me, you're good. You normally, I sit in the room and everybody raises their hand. So, yes, so you're gonna go in Sims. I love Sims. Who loves Sims? Who thinks Sims is the best thing that Farmers ever rolled out? I love you. And Norman, awesome. I am telling you, this has changed my style of, because I told you I'm all about the sale and I'm not about the detail. This keeps me honest and on track. So if you want to learn Sims, let Kevin know, and that's a whole other 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's amazing and what it can do for your existing book and bringing cross-sells in, bringing your FFR systems in. Forget everything that the company has taught you about turning on group SMPs and turning on mass everything. Sims is an account level management that keeps the agent or producer honest, and it honestly drives sales that you, normally if I quote, and I might call them 2 or 3 times, it tracks them a year or 2 out. and literally keeps them. So all your work to get somebody quoted will track them for the next year. And then they'll ultimately, what we're seeing is they're coming back to us long term. So if you don't use Sims for your existing book to cross-sell within it, and your book, you're not physically calling 3,000 people a day, or 1,000 people a day, or 500 people, you need to learn Sims and get on Sims. So whoever this is, which I know it's Norman, loves Sims, because I would beat him if he didn't. So this is where you're going to find all your information, right? So remember we just pulled some leads? Well, you asked me, where do I find them? Here they are, in your hot prospects. So the minute you pull them, you're like, oh, I got them. Have a sip of coffee, and then open up your Sims. And that's where they're going to be. So Kevin told you I was obnoxious, so now you know. I get excited about this. This is money. This is money, free money.
This is the homepage, right?
Yeah, this is the homepage of Sims, right. So you see his to-do list over here. It's right next to it with hot prospects. I don't know that I've ever read down here. Remember how some of you said you didn't know what a J policy was, or didn't have a J policy, or don't know where you find them? This is where they tell you, sorry, I keep touching your TV. I'm going to have to come wax it.
It's okay, it's not.
I don't give a damn, they left it unplugged.
So here it's going to say you have a J policy, and it's going to tell you to open it and look at it. So if they sold a J policy in your book last night, that's where you're going to see. So if you've never opened this, open it, because if you have 2 or 3 J policies in your book, great for you right now, but as soon as they make the criteria a qualification for it, you will no longer get them. So make sure that you're looking through here, and you're really going in and cleaning them up. And honestly, if you guys want to learn about that, we do that another time. So you're going to open this. Now, I'm going to caution you, Norman, to write this person's name down. Once we open this lead from Hot Prospects, and I want you guys all to you guys hear me. Once you open it, it is gone from Hot Prospects. So if you don't know the name of the person, after you open it, it's gone. Is there a way to pull it? Yes. You can run a list within Sims, an easy list to run to show it to you. But again, you know, if you open it, then know that it's gone. So Norman, we're going to open the top one. And then you can write that name down. So there's the person. Her name's Kathy, right? She lives in San Francisco. And again, this wasn't one of the hot ones, so it's not going to have a quote attached to it. If it was one of the call center leads, the Omni leads, then it would have a quote. So are you opening that one?
Yeah.
So it would have a quote. So once you get into this homepage, you want to look at the quote that they did. And again, I told you guys, you want to go in and alter the quote. So even if you don't talk to the person on the phone, you want to make sure you bring up their limits. You want to give them all the discounts that are available, right? Because in smart selling, it says to provide all the discounts first, and then as you're talking to them, you can take some of them off, right? But you want to get them on that hook. You want the phone call to you back. So, so if you hold right here a second, there's no S&P set up already. You guys know about this other attributes tab? So if you click on this other attributes tab, you're going to see 2 folders in there that say custom and standard. If you click on the folder, is it open or not open? I don't know. I always click on them. Okay, so they are open.
Yeah.
If you're in here, whenever you have a prospect, you guys, so there's leads, prospects, and then there's opportunities. Leads are the furthest thing away from your book. Opportunities are your book, and prospects are who you're working with. So we're working with a prospect right now. If you go in that other attributes tab, did you guys know that there's like this much information about them? If they own their house, if they have financial products, if they have children, how many cars, what's their net worth, how long have they lived in their house, do they have a mortgage on their house, their telephone number, everything about them is in there when it populates. There is no rhyme or reason on how it populates or why does this customer have it and that one doesn't. It's just if you're lucky, it does. So that's just a little tidbit. But if you go back up to, oh yeah, you're right, you can go into quotes. So if you go in this tab, so this person must have done a quote, or remember I said I don't know where they came from, but so if you open that quote, oh, so it's not, okay.
No.
Yeah, so it's not a quote. But if it was the call center lead, the Omni lead, that quote's going to be in there, and you're going to be able to open it, and you're going to see what they quoted on, okay? What you want to do is change coverage, and then save it. And then what I do is I go down here to notes, and then I put in a note. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with using this or not, but if you add a note in here, and on the note I'll write, pulled lead, requoted higher limits, phone call and email sent. And then I save it.
These are permanent notes?
Yeah, these are permanent notes.
I've been wondering where they are at. I didn't use it yet.
Oh, okay, yeah, they store them in here. And what's great about this is, number one, this is how Zach and I and Raquel and Danielle communicate in our office, right? We always read notes. And number two, the call center, so Kathy, this isn't a call center lead, but let's pretend it is. She calls back up the call center at night. The call center pulls it up on the phone. They can see our stuff. So they see we wrote it at higher limits. So if Norman would have wrote a note in here, changed limits, that call center person's going to know that he changed the limits and that Norman actually worked it. So there's communication there, right? So I always put a note in, and it's good for yourself to back yourself up, to remind you what you did when you do come back. So that's where you would add the note. You go back to general info, put in anything else that you gathered. This one doesn't have a phone number, nor does it have an email address. But let's say in that other attribute tab we found a phone number, and you guys, I don't know if you know this or not, it's one of the coolest things about Sims. If you add a phone number and you put it in, it automatically scrubs it right then and there. Do you guys know that? So if I tell you I'm on a do not call list, or if you're in that other attributes tab and it populates their phone number and you're like, how do I know if they're on the do not call list or not? Right? And yes, you have to write the number down on a piece of paper. I've gotten more phone calls from that than anything. Write the number down on a piece of paper, because you can't copy it and paste it. It doesn't allow it in the application. Write it down, then go back over here and hit add. And when you add it, if it's on the do not call, it'll come up red. And if it's not, it'll be black, just like the rest of the stuff. So it instantly scrubs it. How cool is that? I love Sims, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One question. So, for instance, on this lead here, basically there's no phone number or anything like that, so all we could basically do is set up an SMP for it?
Right, right. And again, you know.
I mean, unless we stalk them.
Correct, correct. So you know, in theory, we're really working with the call center leads, right? So there's gonna be a phone number and or an email address, because the call center, they had to call in, the call center gathers that information. So remember, when we're doing this with the call center leads, so if you don't do this practice in your agency, don't worry, but with the call center stuff, you really wanna track this, and I'll show you why. So pretend that the phone number's there, pretend the email address is there. You want to set up an SMP, and you want to go in here, and if you can move that way a little bit. So if I was talking to somebody on the call center, right, I would set them up on 2 SMPs. I would get them on prospecting, get him to know me, and I would do quotes not closed. Side note, if you're the agent, you have other people in your office, if you don't want this SMP assigned to you, don't pick it from here. Go to the tab over here under Task, SMP, and Workflow, where you can assign it to a producer or a CSR, okay? So, and if I'm way over your heads on all this, it's okay. But for the
How do you
people,
assign an SMP?
but the people you understand, you know. So the best thing to do with these call center leads is get in Sims, get the access to the phone number and the quote, and call them. That's gonna get you the sale. If you don't get them, email them. And after you're done calling and emailing, just go on here, assign it to yourself, but do the quotes not closed or the prospecting, and just click on it and get it in there. Why that's so important, I'll get your question in a second. Why setting at least one SMP is important is eventually they're gonna take those leads away from the people who pull them and don't assign an SMP. Now I'm telling you right here, and I'm gonna give you my word, and Kevin knows me, I will help you work through that portion of it, because a lot of people go, I don't want to work in Sims, I don't know Sims, I don't want to do that. Don't pull the lead, because you're the exclusive agent on that lead. You have stopped everyone else from getting it, and if you're not going to work it, then ultimately Farmers is going to take all of your access away. So don't screw it up for yourself. Learn how to do Sims before you pull those leads, unless you can just say, you know, hey, how do I set one? So just click on one at least, so that it's at least set up and going out. Okay? And again, tracing that and working that and doing all that, that's a whole nother class. But at least you have one on there and it's filtering in to get in touch with that person. But I guarantee you, if you guys send just an email and a phone call and you say you have a lower price, 9 out of 10 times they're calling back if they don't answer the phone. So that's literally the call center lead. So I know it took a long time to get here, but it's really easy. You just go in there, grab the lead, go into Sims, call them, quote them, email them, set your SMP, and you're done. It literally takes less than 5 minutes in your office if they don't answer the phone. And you're done for the, you know, and if you want to go back in the afternoon. We do check in the morning when we get in at 9. We check after lunch, and then sometimes when I'm there late at night, I'll go in at night to check. You had a question? No?
I did.
So,
I have a
so,
question.
go ahead.
These favorite SMPs, is that default for everybody, or do you have to set that up?
You have to go in and set them up.
Set those up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so again, if you guys want help with that, I can come back and I show you how to get in there, set your favorites, I show you how to work them, the other attributes. I mean, it's literally just moving around Sims, and once, and he can attest to it in the back row, it's fantastic, isn't it? And if I could go back 2 years and start my book in it, oh my God. I think I would have double the sales I have now if I had started with it.
Do you have to do it one by one, assign SMP? Can you do pull a whole list and then?
Yeah, no, you can't yet. They're working on it, and they're also working on a hot button right here to add on that assigns that SMP to a producer or CSR right from this screen. So they are working on it. But yeah, you know, you can't assign a whole list yet, but it's coming because enough people now have complained that they have to keep going over there to do it. So, but right now, yeah, it is that way. So if you don't want them assigned to you, then I'll show you how to set them up from the beginning. And I'm gonna give you one little piece of my own tidbit of